There was a time when Netflix just worked. You picked a movie, a red envelope showed up at your door. Done. Everyone was happy. But then something happened. It wasn't the cyber attack. It wasn't a coding mistake. The system couldn't simply handle how successful it had become. Netflix was growing so fast, its own technology couldn't keep up. And so, it did the unthinkable. It walked away from the system it had trusted for years and began again. It was 2008. Netflix had just launched its new video streaming feature. No more waiting for DVDs in the mail. You simply click play and your video would play gracefully. Or at least that was the idea. But behind the scenes, the company was quietly struggling. Netflix's entire platform ran on a tightly packed structure, what engineers call a monolith. That means everything was part of one big system. The website, your profile, the payment system, the video player, all connected. It worked great for years, but when streaming took off, the structure began to crack. Even a small issue could bring everything down. That's what exactly happened. In August 2008, a central part of Netflix's central database became corrupted. Something went wrong with how the system kept track of its DVD rental data. One failure, one file, and suddenly, nothing worked. Not the website, not the apps, not the recommendation engine. All of it was down. For 3 days. Millions of DVD shipments were delayed. The outage was in the shipping system, not the streaming service. The customer website remained online. Engineers worked round the clock trying to patch the system. But the deeper they went, the more fragile everything fell. And that's when Netflix leadership realized this wasn't just a technical bug. It was a sign. The company was going faster than the technology could handle. And unless they made radical changes, they wouldn't survive. Netflix system was never meant to scale globally. The engineers knew every part of it. They could test updates carefully. Changes were slow, but safe. But streaming changed the rules. Suddenly, people were watching on phones, tablets, smart TVs, game consoles. Every device had different requirements, different networks, different expectations. This one giant wall of code couldn't bend. It could only break. And here's what that means in practice. Let's say a developer wants to fix how subtitles appear during playback. In a monolith, that small change would require redeploying the whole system, including the login page, the billing engine, the homepage layout. One bug could affect everything. It became too risky to change, too dangerous to move fast. The system that had once helped Netflix grow was now holding it back. They had to rethink everything. Netflix chose to break its system apart. Think of it like a city, where each building has its own power and plumbing, instead of everything relying on one central unit. These were called microservices. Each microservice did exactly one job. One handled user logins, one handled search, one streamed the actual video, another tracked your watch history. That way, if one part had a problem, say the recommendation engine, the whole platform would still work. But this shift wasn't just technical. It changed the entire culture of how Netflix built software. Now teams could own their services completely. A team in California could work on the video player, while another in New York fine-tuned the payment system without stepping on each other's toes. And because these systems were independent, they could deploy updates faster, sometimes daily. But this wasn't easy. Transitioning from a monolith to microservices is like fixing a ship while it's crossing the ocean. As one Netflix engineer described it, we were flying a jet and replacing every engine one at a time, mid-air. Breaking the system apart was only step one. Now they had to figure out where those microservices will run. Running them in their old data centers wasn't going to cut it. They needed more flexibility, more speed, more global reach. So Netflix made another bold choice. They moved everything to the cloud. Instead of managing their own hardware, they started renting computing power from Amazon Web Services or AWS. Now when the traffic spiked, like during a big show release, Netflix could instantly launch more servers. When demand dropped at night, they could scale down. This meant less waste, better performance, and faster development. But to make this work, Netflix made its own tools on top of AWS. Eureka for keeping track of which services were active and healthy. Zool acted like a smart traffic controller, directing requests to the right service. SpinNaker helped engineers safely release new updates to the live platform. With this setup, Netflix could evolve constantly and prepare for the next unknown. But even the best system can fail. Cables break, regions go offline, bugs sneak through. Netflix engineers knew this, so instead of hoping nothing would break, they started breaking it on purpose. They built internal tools that would turn off parts of the system during the workday, not during testing, in production, while people were actually streaming. If one service disappeared, would the system adapt? Would users notice? Could the system heal itself before it caused problems? They called this practice chaos engineering. Every week, the system faced unexpected failures, and every week, it got better at recovering. This wasn't about causing chaos. It was about preparing for it, so that when the real outages came, Netflix didn't blink. One former engineer said, "We weren't scared of failure anymore. We were ready for it." Today, Netflix runs one of the most advanced streaming platforms in the world. It operates thousands of microservices spread across multiple continents with built-in systems that detect and repair problems in real time. Teams deploy new code hundreds of times per day. A new feature could go live globally within minutes, and viewers, they never notice. When a new season of a show drops, whether it's in India, Brazil, or the US, Netflix is ready. All of this was made possible by one decision: to rebuild from the ground up. That didn't just fix what was broken, they prepared for what was coming. The Netflix we know today was built by engineers who were not afraid to question their own success, who knew that sometimes progress means letting go. And that's a lesson for anyone building technology today. Don't wait for failure to force your hand. Be bold enough to rebuild before you have to. So what do you think about Netflix revamp story? Do let us know in the comment section. Do like, share and subscribe, as we'll see you in the next one.